Okay, those of you who are sort of reballing graphic chips or CPU, APU on PS4s and PS3 RSX chip and so on and so forth, I would strongly recommend avoid sort of buying direct heat stencils. And one of the particular reason being for this is because I'm literally reballing an APU which has a sort of a 6 second blue light error, and it sort of and then it switches itself off. So there's a good chance that the unit has been dropped. So as a result of that, I've actually taken the chip off and I'm having to sort of reball it. Now this is my first direct heat stencils. I normally use the standard stencil 90 by 90 mil sort of stencil what I've bought from Insight International. And it is not a direct heat, but this is a direct heat stencil. Now what's happened, I've sort of put the solder ball and then sort of used my hot air station to sort of have the solder ball sort of liquidus and attached to the pads on the bottom of the GPU itself or the APU itself. The stencil is stuck, it just won't come off. So I don't want to pull the stencil out. By doing so, what will happen is I'll rip out the solder balls, or worst case scenario, I'll rip out the pads. It's literally just solid and it's stuck. So what I've got to do now is I've got to use the upper heater of the Jovi, and then as soon as all the sort of solder balls are liquidus, I'm going to lift it up. Now I think one of the reasons why it's happening is that the solder balls are sort of pressing, they're not 100% lined up, and because they're not lined up, it's actually sort of pressing onto the stencil, and if you know where I'm coming from, and as a result of that, it's solid, it just won't come off now. So I would strongly recommend, if don't bother buying the stencils, direct heat stencil I should say, and just go for the standard stencil what normally people uses, I should say technician uses. But yeah, at all cost avoid direct heat. This is my first and my last direct heat stencil, unfortunately. And one of the reasons why I bought this is because if there is too much flux on the during the reball process, and you put too much flux on, without using the direct heat, I'm referring to the standard stencils, then as you lift up, sometimes the solder balls are coming away, and secondly, even when you're sort of heating the area around with your hot air station, the solder balls tend to sort of run and start sort of attaching with one another, sort of bonding with one another. So as a result of that, I thought that would be a cracking sort of a job to sort of try out the direct heat stencil, but it turned out to be an absolute bollock. So as I said to you before, this is my first and my last direct heat stencil. I'd be sort of going back into doing using my old stencils. That's all. And I'm sorry I could not sort of show you the reballing process because I'm absolutely battered down with work, sort of a thing. So this is just something that I thought that people should be made aware of, but I'm absolutely battered down, so which is why I could not sort of show you the full process from start to end. But saying that, I'm literally sort of probably wondering what the friggin' hell is this, right? Okay, it's actually an ultraviolet light. What I'm doing is I've applied solder mask onto certain areas where I believe that I've actually sort of scraped off. Well, I didn't. I think it's just the poor manufacturing process of Sony themselves, and you might see some green stuff around, even in the center. Let me see if I can show you under the microscope. Just move that preheater. So for the solder mask to cure, this is an ultraviolet curable sort of solder mask. So for it to cure, let me just see if I can sort of and I think I should be able to get you an angle. Beautiful. And come on. See, those areas had to be masked. Not bad here. There's some here as well. and there's loads here. And there is a perfect reason why you need to sort of do that, and I'll do a separate video on this, explaining the reason for you to do that. So stay tuned. That's all, thank you.